On this case, it's been kind of a roller coaster. I'm not going to lie. So if you see us a little frustrated while we're talking, it's because we're a little frustrated. She was kind of begging me before I got off the phone just to keep them until February. And I told her again, like, I can't make a decision on the phone because, again, it's a family decision. It's not just mine. And even with long-term foster care, and I just want to piggyback on what you had said, that parenting is completely different. So when we were set out to adopt our son, once termination happened, basically the caseworkers were like, he's basically your kid until, not legally, but you can get his haircut, you can take him camping, you can do all this stuff with him, and that's fine. You just gotta let them know like what you're doing, like if you're going on a trip or something. But with the girls, with long-term foster parenting, you can't do anything past 72 hours. Like if you want to go somewhere, you have to get a court order, or you have to get approval from the biological parents as well. It's all these rules that you have to abide by, so you can't really plan things or go anywhere, or do anything with the kids, because it's basically a huge team decision. So that's just something else that we just couldn't do. So again, I finally talked to Craig and we talked about it, and we just thought it was too much trauma to have the girls moved yet again into another foster home. These girls had been moved way too many times in the almost 3 years that they've been in care. So we just decided, yes, we'll wait until February. Hopefully, we'll figure out what happens during court and go from there.
And another thing is our home, they were in separate foster homes before. So
they hadn't lived together for
almost 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 years.
So we didn't want them separated out into different homes, because finding foster homes that can accommodate even 2 siblings is tough for them. So we said, you know what, we don't like that things are not happening the way that we were told they were going to happen, but for the sake of the girls, we would go ahead and keep them till February. And hopefully in February, we were pretty confident actually, okay, it's 6 months out or whatever, but that we would actually know what's going to happen. So that was not the case either. So after Skyla told them, yes, we've talked about it, we'll go ahead and keep them to February, in a meeting not long after that, we were told, well, we had another FTDM meeting, and after we dropped off the call, we found out later that they were wanting all medical care to be transferred to the biological mom, and which makes it tough because they're over 2 hours away. When you go through the foster training, as well as what they call the WAC, which are the Washington Administrative Code, for a variety of things, but for the foster care portion, it talks about how we're legally responsible for ensuring they receive appropriate medical care. And if they're doctors over 2 hours away, because they were wanting them to on visit days, if they had to go to the doctor on one of their visit days, the biological moms can schedule a doctor's appointment and they can go to the doctor. Well, that makes it tough, especially with one of the kiddos that had some medical needs that we were addressing and working directly with her doctor on. So we asked locally, if this is normal, and everyone is saying no, this is not normal. Usually anything like this would have to be a court order, and the thing that irked us, I guess, the most was we're legally supposed to go to these meetings, and they have to invite us, as a part of the case plan, and the only part of the meeting we're not supposed to be able to be on, or the biological mom is allowed to basically kick us off for, is the part where they're talking about her personal needs, the steps that they're taking. So on this particular meeting, we were asked to drop off the call. We said no problem. Then we're finding this out later, and we asked, well, when was this discussed?
Because
and they said, oh, well, it was a decision made, at the last FTDM meeting. And we thought, well, this really does have an effect on us, and we weren't told about, we weren't part of that
Yeah.
decision at all. So we pushed back, and I, shared with the worker, our responsibilities under the WAC,
Yeah. Because
and
we're
said that,
legally supposed to have this. We're
yep,
supposed to make sure that these kiddos get the best care,
yep,
and we're their primary caregivers. And so, not being able to handle that, I mean, not only is it like scary for us because we want to make sure that they're healthy and that they're getting the right care. It was just kind of unnerving as well that they didn't like call us back or send us a discussion like, hey, what do you think?
yep.
It wasn't like anything like that. It was like, hey, this is what's happening. And it's like, hey, that's not what's supposed to happen legally. Like, you
Yeah.
have a legal obligation to tell us. And also, like, we're supposed to be able to, make sure these girls get adequate care. So,
Yeah, and another thing is, we made the assumption early on that when you're doing foster care, that the caseworkers know what the biological parents are legally responsible for and all that, and the guidelines, like I said, the WAC that we have to follow. And they don't. And I read this on
yeah.
one of the fostering Facebook pages. The caseworkers are not required to know what all the rules and all that are. I mean, it's just the licensors that are responsible for knowing, what the rules are on the foster parents. So
Yeah.
the decisions were being made by people who were not even really aware of what our legal responsibility was,
Yeah.
as the caregivers of the
Which
kiddos
we
that
could
were
lose
placed
our
with us.
license because of that.
So after we were first told that they would be handling the medical care, we thought, okay, well, we'll see how this goes. Um, Please, we want to be able to have contact with the doctor in advance of
Yeah.
these appointments so that we can share directly what we're seeing, what the girls are complaining about, and everything. So we ended up finding out later that one of the girls had a doctor's appointment. We were never notified. We were never called or anything. We were not kept in the loop at all. So then we really gave pushback and said, and I
Yeah.
actually quoted the WAC and gave the administrative code number and said, look, you can't cut the primary caregivers out, or us foster parents out of their medical care completely. We have to be able to communicate with their doctor. We didn't even know who the doctor was. What the caseworker ended up doing is she decided she would go to the visits with them, and call us so that we can talk to the doctor as well and kind of be a part of the visit. And I think that actually worked out really well. The youngest, since she had some other medical conditions, she went ahead and allowed us to keep the doctor here locally,
Yeah.
so that we can continue to converse with that doctor about her care needs. So a compromise was made, and really what their goal was is to um, you know teach the mom, I guess, to how to take her kids to the doctor and to kind of set her up for success if
Which
she did in the future, which is great. But again, we us being cut completely out of of those meetings was not okay in the beginning. So another thing to note is when foster parents set up appointments, whether they've been at dentist appointments or other doctor's appointments, um, you have to tell the caseworker when those appointments are, and the caseworker invites the biological parent to come to those appointments.
Yeah.
Legally, they're able to come to those appointments.
But I will say that if, as a foster parent, if you feel unsafe with the biological parents showing up, you can request the social worker or the caseworker to attend those visits along with the biological parents.
Yep.
So you do have that option. I just want to leave that out there.
Yeah, and so she had been invited. I think there was one appointment that we did like on the fly because there was an opening and we went to it.
Oh yeah, that was a cardiologist appointment.
Yeah, and because it was going to take months to get the appointment, otherwise we went ahead and snagged it and went. And I think it was not long after that meeting is when they said, "Oh, we're running to transfer the care up there." Mainly, it was an inconvenience to the biological mom to have to come 2 hours to come to the appointments here. So they were switching that inconvenience to us in a sense.
Yeah.
But we dealt with it. In the end, we had to kind of fight for the ability to be a part of their medical care still, because again, we're responsible for their medical care. We're the ones here with them, 24/7, aside from their visits. dealing with their medical concerns.
I will say though, throughout this whole process, even when adopting our son and stuff, we're pretty patient. We're pretty lenient on what, and following the rules as well. And what needs to be done needs to be done. But on this case, it's been kind of a roller coaster. I'm not going to lie. So if you see us a little frustrated while we're talking, it's because we're a little frustrated. It has nothing to do with the children. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the children. I'll just leave it to that. It's basically all the adults that are involved, and again, we're just frustrated.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there. So disclaimer.
All right. So flash forward to February. So we've had Christmas, we've had birthdays,
Yep.
And February comes around, and one of the things. There'll be other vlogs, I think, that'll go into more detail about some of the things we've been frustrated about. But
there's been a lot of things that's been happening behind the scenes.
On this vlog, I think we're just kind of wanting to go over what the timeline of events have been up to.
What's
since
been going on?
Yeah. So in February, the caseworker came over.
Was there a term court date?
No, there wasn't.
What?
Thank you for asking. No. So in February, we asked the caseworker, because the original caseworker, and it's changed since, she came down to did the 2-hour drive here, which was nice, to meet with us and talk to us and do the check-ins with the kiddos. And so we asked, hey, so is it court this month? And she starts scrambling through her paperwork. No,
Grabs out her phone.
Gets her phone out, and she's like, I don't show that we have any court dates set up this month.
Yeah, she's like, I'll text the district attorney real fast.
Yep,
and she's like, oh, she's not getting back to me, and she's like, and I gotta go, and so we're like, okay. So we kind of like, after she left, we're like, we don't think it's gonna.
Are you kidding me?
I don't think it's gonna happen this month.
This is again back in October. She had said, hey, February was when we're gonna know everything.
February.
And going back to what we said a little bit ago, we were, obviously by now we're, attaching to the girls. We've done a lot of activities with the girls, but if they're going home, they're going home. If they're not, then they're not.
And we still haven't talked about them returning back to their biological parents. We haven't talked about adoption.
Mm-hmm.
We have just kind of like left that out in the open, not talking about it. So I mean, it's just been kind of, we're all in limbo here.
Yep. So February comes around. Like I said, she tells us she doesn't know when court's going to be. She a couple days later ends up messaging us and saying, well, I know the court dates now. Will the normal court, the regular scheduled court, is at the end of March, and then the next termination court hearing, which was the one that was originally supposed to happen to September before,
which is actually next week.
That was bumped to the end of April. So we're like, okay, so what happened to February dates? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about with, trust me, we remembered when it was supposed to be.
I have it. And it was funny too, because when we had asked her, I had it on my calendar. Yep. So I was waiting for her to either confirm or just kind of like, say, oh, it's canceled. So when she was like, oh, I don't know anything about February, and I'm like, it's on my calendar. Like, as soon as she told me, I put it on my calendar, because that's what we do. We're very schedule oriented. So like, I put everything on my calendar. And when she gave me that date, I put it down. Yep. And now it's not, it never happened.
So now, meanwhile, we end up having these other FTDM meetings. The caseworker is still telling us we are moving toward termination, because we keep asking, wait, are these kids going back to their biological mom? What's happening with the case? No, we're still seeking termination. Don't worry. It just, it's just taking some time. Mm-hmm. And so then we end up having these FTDM meetings where each meeting they're giving more and more control back over to the biological mom. They're extending the visits,
which is not what we were told at any time, because we even talked to the supervisor and everything, and it's just, it's still to this point where it's like, oh, nothing, we're not giving her any more time, we're not giving her, we're still moving towards termination. And then we're like feeling confident going into these meetings. I mean, granted, we're so proud of the biological mom for doing everything that she needs to do. But again, we just felt like, we had done so much and that we just felt lied to. And so we were and we've already bonded to the girls. So we were just like, okay, this is it. We're moving in the right direction. And then these meetings happened. And it was like, as we're on mute and we're listening to these conversations, Craig and I are like,
are you kidding me? Yeah, like
what is happening? And then after the meetings, we'd be like, hey, that's not what you told us.
Like, just to kind of hitchhike on what Skylar was saying, a couple of days before one of the meetings, we were told almost exactly opposite of what ended up happening.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to say. This is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're not moving forward with any more, because what ends up happening is they're extending visit hours. They're lessening the amount of supervision and all that. And we were told, you know what, there were some issues and we're not going to, we're still not only seeking termination, but we're not going to be giving as much, we're not extending visits anymore. We're going to kind of stay how we're at. 2 days later, opposite happens. Visits are extended. Everything, it was very mind-blowing to us sitting in on the call, listening and hearing.
I will piggyback on that too, is when the girls go to their visits, it's 2 hours there, 2 hours back. Mm-hmm. And when the girls moved into our home, it was approved by everyone, including Biomom, that they moved down 2 hours away because we were the permanent adoptive home. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, as this case is progressing through the months, everybody's like, why did the girls move to 2 hours away?
Yeah.
We're not frustrated that the mom's doing so well and that she's getting all these visits. We're frustrated that these girls have to be in this car for 2 hours. They're 2 hours back several times. They're missing school, which they're already behind in school. I mean, there's just a lot of different obstacles that were just kind of frustrating along the way.
Yeah, there's been a ton. So going back to the timeline, then the COVID stuff hits. And we had another meeting. We'll have a separate vlog. You'll notice in some of our vlogs that we don't have the youngest of the three with us anymore, which we'll do a separate vlog about, because there's a lot of things that was happening that with her that led to some tough decisions. So we'll talk about that in a different vlog. But as of right now, we still have the two older girls, and we are locked down, and it took a little bit of a struggle with the COVID at the beginning, because they were wanting to still do in-person visits until finally the state said no. The governor, whoever, said let's just do video visits for kids. Because we had to give some pushback, because we're both high risk. I mean, I have asthma as well as I'm overweight, and Skyla has
an
autoimmune disease. Yeah.
So
we were concerned and wanting to know how the state was going to handle that, when at first they were just like, people on the foster Facebook pages were complaining, hey, look, these kids are coming in and out of our homes, going to various places to their visits. So as of right now, we are working from home for the most part, except for, like I said, Skyla has to go in 1 day a week, and we're doing the video visits for the kids. Another thing I should mention is about a month ago or so, we spoke to the guardian ad litem again, and
finally,
and she, looking back, was probably the most honest person that there was, about the situation. She had said that she didn't believe that when they were transferred to us that there was even a 50% chance that they were going to be adopted.
Yet she also helped with the court order for the Ware site. So we were very conflicted on all the information that we were getting, but yet we were just excited to get the girls. And so I don't think we really took in everything at that time. We were just like, whatever,
we didn't see the red flags.
We didn't, because we were just so excited, and we were excited to grow our family. We were excited for the possibilities. And now 8 months later,
8 or is it 9 months?
8 or 9 months, we're still in limbo. We're still taking it day by day.
So just a little recap. We had thought we were fine. Like if kids go back to their biological parents, if their biological parents are doing what they're supposed to do, that's great.
That's awesome.
We took them in knowing that there was a small chance, or was told that there was a small chance that they could go back, but that decision was going to be made soon after.
Yeah, it just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
So, here we've been, like I said, parenting these kids for months, and which has put our family in limbo. Our family's goal from the beginning was to grow our family and to adopt, and we've, the last 8 or 9 months have been not able to, the chances of us adopting these girls is lessened, and we can't, just make them transfer them. We didn't, because that trauma ends up being on us.
And right now, I mean, just having the girls with us until they finally have a court date would be best. I mean, they're supposed to have court next week. We'll see. We'll figure that out. But I don't have high hopes on like the court actually happening. So.
Yeah, and like I said, at this point, the guardian ad litem is saying that she thinks it's a very slim chance that they'll be adopted out. The previous caseworker that we dealt with most of the time, when she moved on to a different role, she told us she thought maybe there's a 50% chance that we would be able to still adopt them.
The new caseworker hasn't really talked to us.
Yeah,
I don't think she knows what's going on.
No, she doesn't. Yeah. We'll explain that in another the other vlog too. And just a teaser, I guess the youngest is with her biological mom.
Yeah.
So she hasn't been transferred to like another random foster care or anything like that. She is with her biological mom. We'll tell the story kind of around that again in a different vlog, because that'll take a little bit of time. And right now we're sitting in a hot RV trying to stay away, so that the kiddos can't hear us inside the house.
We don't talk about this in front of the kids or around the kids. So the only time we talk about it is like if we're in bed or like, the kids are outside and we have a moment to ourselves. So thankfully our RV is right outside of our home and we can just sneak in here and make a video real quick.
Yeah. And the other day, because we, like I said, we'd done some videos before. We hadn't posted anything for years. We wanted to do a family vlog.
Yeah.
And what's funny is a couple weeks ago, I was talking to my director at my job, and just kind of, she was asking, hey, what's going on with adoption? And I shared, again, I don't share any details of who or what, anything like that.
It's all confidential.
But just kind of some general, things. And she's like, you really need to like write a story about everything you're going through, because, this has been crazy. And then I told Skyla, I'm like, you know what, we should probably get the vlog up and going, because, because
we have some crazy lives.
Yeah, we do. So, and
things are happening.
And another thing I do want to emphasize also, us sharing our story is not trying to discourage anyone from doing foster care or adopting or using the Ware site or using anything.
We hear so many beautiful stories about a foster care and adoption, and just because we're having this one case that's just kind of like, frustrating.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that every case. I mean, I know other foster parents that do this and they have their kids go back to biological family or whatever, and it's still beautiful that they get to talk with them still or not talk with them, and that's just knowing that these kids are safe. That's the only thing, is that they're safe and healthy and happy, and that's it. Yeah.
And you hear, like, we're part of the foster group Facebook pages where you have to be licensed to be able to be a part of those Facebook pages. You hear good stories and you hear horror stories all the time, so you get a mixed bag of stories. So there's a lot of people out there frustrated with different aspects of the foster system, foster families that are terminating their licenses because they're going through similar situations to what we were going through. And again, we weren't even intending to do long-term foster care. Yeah, we were just wanting to grow our family. If you're wanting to do foster care, definitely look into it. We're sharing our story because we feel that it's good for people to know just kind of what foster parents deal with, and the ups and downs of that. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.
If you want to continue watching videos, we are planning on posting more and going through our journey with you. Click the like button and click subscribe, and we will see you soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.